What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Mind of Mateo. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in again. Life is going, man. Life is going pretty fast. I'm still doing my podcast out of a different room in my house. My home office is right next to my bedroom, and the home studio kind of set up and stuff like that. And my wife is sleeping. She's a nursing mom, and she's up every 2 or 3 hours. I'm up every few hours trying to help her as well. And so I'm trying to keep noise to a minimum so that way she can get some rest and enjoy her time off. I also have my son right here on the other side of this desk. So if you hear any kind of grunting noises or noises in general or anything like that, it's just my son. He's sleeping. When I start recording, he likes to start to wake up and make some noises and stuff like that. But today's episode is about setbacks. And it's been an interesting month this month. And the reason I say that is because a lot of things have changed. Man, you know, when you're pregnant, well, I'm not pregnant. When my wife was pregnant and we were going through that process, I knew life was going to change. Obviously, but I had no idea how drastic of a change it was going to be. And I didn't realize, I guess it's kind of silly to say, but I didn't realize how it would affect every single portion of my life. And so that being the case, me personally, I've seen a lot of different kind of what I would call setbacks in this month. A lot of great things, but a lot of different setbacks in productivity. Even with the podcast, I haven't been able to record or release as much content, and it suffered. Just statistically or empirically or whatever you want to call it, just the reach, number of downloads, all that kind of stuff. It's gone down, which means I'm not doing what I set out to do, which is to help people and to help more people. In order to help more people, I got to continue to put out more content, better content, and continue to improve. And I feel like I really didn't do that this month. I feel like I took a slight step back in that regards. And even in business, I was joking. I was talking to some friends, and I was telling them how this was like, I remember this so clearly. There was at one point in the month, I'm feeding my baby. I have him in my arm, right? And I got the bottle, and I'm trying to balance the bottle on my cheek to feed him. And meanwhile, I'm on, chat with tech support for my MSP company. And I'm trying to type with one finger, and I keep fat fingering the button. And so I have to keep hitting delete, and then my son is fussing a little bit, so I got to keep adjusting the bottle, and I'm trying to do all these things, and then phone calls would come in, and my wife is asking me questions, and it's the most chaotic, the most chaos I've experienced in a while, as far as just in day to day. And so my productivity, building my business has struggled, because it's a lot of big things going on, and I had to adequately planned or made adjustments for it. And even in my personal life, obviously, like you're getting a much less sleep, and we're a bit of a glutton for punishment. We said, hey, we're gonna have a baby, we're not gonna sleep already as it is, why not get a puppy too? So we've got that going on as well. And the one thing that I realized is also the setback in my marriage, and just the fact that me and my wife don't have nearly as much time together as we had previously, because we hadn't planned for it. And even the time that we have together, the beginning, having a baby, the baby's up every 2 or 3 hours because he needs to eat. And then you got to change him in between, and then he fusses a bit, and he's in his chair right now making some noises, but it's definitely different. And so thinking about setbacks, that's what I wanted to do my topic. This is episode 40, the big 40, and I looked at the definition of setbacks on dictionary.com, and the definition is a check to progress, a reverse or defeat, an act or instance of setting back. One more time: a check to progress, a reverse or defeat, an act or instance of setting back. And the one thing that I'm starting to learn, and I've been learning over this last, I think I've been building this business for about, I think I'm going on 2 years this year, and other parts of my life. But when I start to look back at what I want to teach my son, and as weird as that sounds, man, I still haven't gotten used to that, my son. But yeah, what I want to teach my son, and also how I want to improve as a person for myself, first and foremost, and obviously as a better husband for my wife, and a better friend, and a better better son to my parents, and brother to my brother, and the list goes on. But the thing that I've been thinking about is, it's so critical how you handle setbacks. And why do I say that? Because setbacks are inevitable. They're pretty much guaranteed to occur, and it always seems to be at the worst possible time. It always seems to be that case. And the other thing too is, there are variations of degree of the setback. I mean, some of them are kind of smaller and annoying. Other can be catastrophic and huge. I try to avoid those as much as possible, but they do happen. I mean, you hear of people who whether it's in business, they amass great wealth and then they lose it all. Some people do it multiple times. Their marriage, personal side. Some people, they go through divorce or whatever it might be, or infidelity or whatever. There's a bunch of different kind of setbacks, and so how you handle those setbacks will determine and change how you view and experience life. That is so true for me. At least, like, for me, that's what I'm saying. And just from my personal experience, I'm hoping that this helps you in whatever you're going through or how you go through your day-to-day life. But how you handle setbacks will change how you view and experience life. Like, when you go through a setback, what do you say in your head? What do you say to yourself? Are you saying, "Here we go again"? That's one that guilty of all the time, and it's something that I become cognizant about. Is that is how I'm thinking, how I'm responding to things, especially when you're doing something that you've never done before. You're gonna have tons and tons of little annoying, nagging setbacks that build up. But what do you say to yourself? What do you say out loud? You say, "Here we go again. I can't get a break. It's the same thing, different day, etc., etc." Right? You got to look at it and say, how am I responding to these things? Because how you respond will be the determining factor to how quickly you get past that setback, and whether or not you use that setback as fuel. What do I mean by that? Well, let's look at this for a second. What I've learned to do, and what I've continued to do, and still a work in progress, but it is to flip it. Instead of saying, "Here we go again, I can't get a break, it's the same thing, different day, etc." I try to flip it, and I look for the lesson. What is the lesson in the setback that I'm experiencing? What can I learn from it? Why am I going through this, right? I say 70% of the time, maybe a little bit more, the setback is self-caused. It's something that I've done or not done that has led to this point in time in which, I'm going through this thing. And so, is there a lesson that I can learn from it? And then the next thing to say is, it's okay. Setbacks happen. It's okay to experience a setback. Don't run from failure. Failure is not a bad thing. You don't go out with the goal to fail. But if you do run into a setback, if you do come into failure, you got to use it and move forward. Don't get stuck up on it, right? But the other thing too is, like, in certain cases, like, let's say in business or in a relationship, or a friendship or something, you go and you go to do some kind of business venture, right? And let's say you're able to do something, and then you get a setback and it gets taken away. Well, if you did it once, you can do it again. Is that not the truth? It is the truth. You know it's the truth, so don't get hung up on it, right? If you're flirting with this girl and you fail miserably, man, I remember failing so many times when I'd be hitting on a girl or something like that, and I'd be trying to start a relationship or whatever, and it just fails miserably. Hey, I'm married now. I got a kid. Life is good. It's just a setback. You gotta move past it and say it's okay. The fact that this didn't work out, don't use that as an excuse to not go and try the thing again in the future, because you're shortchanging yourself. You're just setting yourself up for a hard life that doesn't need to be lived. No, it's okay. If you did it once, you could do it again, and you can do it better this time. It's all a part of the journey. Those are the things that I've learned to kind of internalize and tell myself as I'm going through life. you know this one with my wife, where instead of getting defensive, instead of my wife says I'm doing something wrong or I could do something better, instead of getting defensive or whatever, I say this myself. It's okay. All right, you know what, own up to it. I screwed up. All right, I can do it better next time. Right, I know I screwed up this time. I can do it better next time. Let me go ahead and do it better next time. That way I don't cop an attitude. That way I'm not miserable. I'm not moping around, or I'm not irritated and fuming throughout the day low key or anything like that. Right, so I keep it moving. And then the other part I want to say is you don't have to BS yourself. I know a lot of people say, oh, that keep it positive. No, look, sometimes something just sucks. It's truth. It is the God honest truth. Sometimes you go through something and it just sucks. You lose some business, or a relationship breaks down, or someone passes on, or someone gets sick. You get into some financial issues. Sometimes things just suck. And that's okay. It's okay for it to feel sucky. You don't need to be going around, crying with a smile on. And no, look, it's okay for it to suck, but don't BS yourself. But you got to realize that moping around about the setback is not going to do anything. It's not. It's not going to help you in any way possible. So take the time to realize it. Take the time to, if in your case, grieve or whatever it might be, but don't get hung up on it. Don't stay stuck in that kind of low place. It's not going to bring you any closer to succeeding or preparing for the future, right? And so I got 4 steps on what I use in my day-to-day to help me with setbacks. Number 1, evaluate. Whenever you go through something, you want to take a moment to see what went wrong and how you can improve it so you don't keep making the same mistakes. Don't just keep it moving, right? When you go through something, don't just throw yourself into another thing and start going 100 miles an hour. Why? Because if you don't sit yourself down for a split second and say, hey, I need to take a look at what's going on and make sure that I actually understand what happened, you're gonna recreate the issue, and maybe even worse. So take 2 seconds, sit down for a second, look at, say, okay, why did this happen? Okay, it happened because of A, B, and C. All right, well, cool. Now I know it happened kind of because of A, B, and C. Let me not do A, B, and C again in the way that I did it, so that way I don't recreate this issue or make it even worse, right? So take the time to see how you can improve things, or in the case of somebody you love gets sick, or relationship breakdown, or someone passes away, or something awful that you can't really control. You want to analyze and evaluate the situation to see how you can position yourself better in the future to handle something like this again if it were to occur. My dad getting sick, I couldn't see that coming from a mile away when he got sick. But what I did do from it, and what I can do, is continue to build, so that way if anyone in my family or my circle were to something similar were to happen to them, I can be more prepared in the future. Financially, I can be more prepared, knowledge-wise, and my understanding of that kind of area, all that stuff, I can be more prepared. Just as a man, character-wise, being able to be strong and be a leader in those situations, or be an ear, and being able to listen to people and sympathize or empathize with them, I can improve from this point on. So if I ever experience this in a different way or a similar way in the future, I'm ready to go through this again, and I'm in a better position, right? Number 2, don't focus on what is in the now. or sorry, don't focus on what is now in the past. As soon as you go through that setback, it's already in the past. The moment you go through it, you experience it for a split second, it's in the past. It's behind you, right? And so this is the thing. A lot of people will stay stuck thinking about it. And I'm guilty of this. Now, I have an example coming up of something that I've been struggling with this month, well, past like few weeks, but not really anymore. But I'm guilty of this. It's so easy to focus on that setback and keep going back to that point of the setback, but it becomes an anchor. It becomes a ball and chain. And what happens is it starts to hinder your growth and your thoughts. And you can't operate from a position of fear or a position of trying not to, be in pain. The pain will happen. You want to mitigate the amount that you have to go through, but you're going to go through it. You're going to keep having setbacks in the future. So don't be afraid of the setback. Just do your best to try and not screw up badly. And when the setback occurs, try to prepare yourself more and more for the things that you can see and try to lessen the amount of those setbacks, right? But you don't want to focus on the thing that just happened and is now in your past. You want to keep your eye on what's to come in the future and what you can handle right now in the present. That helps alleviate some stress right there, because you're not focused on all that. You're shifting your mindset into a more I don't know if the word is positive direction, but something that is away from the failure and you feeling like a failure or being a failure or whatever in your mind. And you're now focused on, well, how do I fix this? Something that's constructive. Okay. Number 3, you got to take massive action now. Don't wait. I'm telling you right now, one of the things that I've thought about is you don't want to. A lot of people, they ask, man, Mateo, how do I get motivated? How do I do this? How do I get the gumption to move forward? How do I get the fire? Sometimes it's not, I guess you could say, a positive motivation that gets you going. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's born out of a little bit of pain, and that's fine. It's not a bad thing, right? When my dad got sick, the motivation from that, I used it. I didn't just let it fester in me. I didn't just let it sit there and eat me from the inside out, or I didn't let myself just become callous or numb and move past it and not do anything with it. Same thing with my wife. When we get into fights and stuff like that, or when finances were tough or whatever, I didn't just sit there. Or I did for a period of time, but what I learned was not to just waste it. It is motivation in itself. It's not the kind of motivation that everyone wants to hear about, the feel good and rah rah. No, but it's still motivation. It's something you can use for fuel. So use it. Don't waste that opportunity. Use it as fuel to propel you forward and take massive action now. You've evaluated. You're not focusing on the past in a negative way. Now you start to make a plan and you take massive action now in the right direction. Okay? Like I said, and you're not afraid of another setback. So you take massive action now. You've in the first step, you've evaluated. You say, I can't do A, B, C anymore because it led to this. All right, well, let me take massive action in this new direction or this adjusted direction. And let's use this thing as fuel. And that negative experience that you went through, that negative experience can lead to momentum, which leads to a positive outcome, which leads to a positive experience, which leads to positive motivation. And you just use that thing as fuel to rocket ship you or slingshot you up in a positive direction and this great loop. And then number 4, most important, it's so played out. You've heard it a million times from other people, but it is the God honest truth. You got to be grateful. You have to be grateful for the fact that no matter what you're going through, no matter what it is that happened, no matter, like I said, you don't BS yourself, but no matter what it is you went through, if you're listening to me right now, you're still alive. That's the truth. You're still alive. You still have options. It may be very limited. You may feel like you don't have many options, maybe 1 or 2, but you still have the option to do something. So let's be grateful that we have breath in our lungs and we're able to move and do things and move forward, and just be grateful for what you have. One of the things that helps me is I just start thinking about my life right now, and you know, if I'm in, trouble financially or whatever, if things are tight or whatever, I don't care. I just start thinking about it. I say, God, thank you for my wife. Thank you for my family. Thank you now for my son. Thank you for this podcast. Thank you for my home. Thank you for the ability to have a car. Thank you for the ability to even learn how to build a business. Thank you for the ability to earn income and to take care of my family. Thank you for the ability to smile and to laugh. Thank you for the ability to have a mind that works for me. Thank you for the ability, you just keep going and just keep being thankful, and it puts you in such a better place, and it puts everything back in perspective. It really does. It really, really does. And so let me go over that one more time. 4 steps. 1, evaluate. Take a time to see what went wrong or how you can put yourself in a better situation for the future. 2, don't focus on what is now in the past. The moment that something happens, it's the present. Split second later, it's in the past. Treat it as such. Look forward to the present that you can handle now and in the future. Number 3, take massive action now. Don't waste the experience you just went through. Use it as fuel to propel you forward. And hopefully that gets you into some momentum if you're doing the right task. Sometimes it'll lead to another setback. Well, guess what? Repeat the process. And eventually you're going to hit that point where it turns into momentum. It turns into a positive thing. 4, be grateful. All right, story time. Example of what happened. My son is he's going to be a month old this Friday, I believe it is. I believe it's this Friday. He's going to be a month old. So when we were getting ready to go to the hospital, right, I had a very stressful couple weeks. Actually, it's more like a couple months up until this point. We were venturing in a new area of business, and so my wife's water breaks. It was like 10:10 at night or something like 10 p.m. We're heading to the hospital and all this kind of stuff. And it was just a very interesting time. We'll say that. I'm gonna make a podcast episode about the whole thing, and I'm even thinking about having my wife on so that way she can tell her part of the story, because it's very important for her as well. But we were in the hospital, and I just had this. I couldn't get work off my mind. I couldn't. There was something in the back of my mind, and so it was the strangest thing. But I remember, I think it was within a couple of hours. No, you know what? It might have been the next morning. I think it was the next morning. I think it was like 6 a.m, a couple hours the next day, and we got an email. And we got a pretty big contract that we had on our way to becoming a decent sized startup, which is pretty good in a year or two. But we had it pulled, and so that contract, it just sucked. It really did. It was awful. Here I am. I'm excited about the birth of my son, but we're also dealing with some kind of with some medical things going on during the labor process and all this kind of stuff, and had this big contract pulled, and it was a big chunk of money, and it really, really sucked. And I remember sitting there, and I'm there, and I'm thinking of my wife. I'm thinking in my mind, my wife is right across from me. She's in the bed. She can obviously see my face, so I can't really even show what it is that I'm feeling on my face, because I don't want to stress her out when she has to worry about pushing out my son. And so in that moment, I used these steps. I sat down. I said, okay, all right, this sucks. This really sucks. It's going to affect my family a little bit. It sucks. It's awful. And I started thinking about, man, that was a good chunk of change. That was a good amount of money, and we have some goals to become, a projection. I'd love to get everything IT Pros, my MSP, up to $500,000 or $750,000 this year in 2021. And it's the venture out into a new, I guess you could say, new vertical, and all this kind of stuff. And it just sucks. And I kept thinking about the fact that I had something and now it's gone. I had this bigger contract, and now that contract's been pulled. It's not there anymore. And I used these steps. This is where these steps started coming in handy. I sat there. I said, okay, you know what? let me evaluate the situation here. I'm having the birth of my son. I can make more money, right? I can get more business, right? But what I can't do is experience the experience that I'm experiencing right now. Tongue twister. I can't do that again, right? I only get one shot at experiencing the birth of my son and being here for my wife. So let me not worry about this right now. Let me think about it. Okay, for me, I think in this example, I think the issue was a fulfillment issue, right? It was the way that we fulfilled the contract. So what do I have to do? Okay, so then I have to fix the fulfillment. But you know what I also learned? 2, don't focus on what's now. I'm not going to focus on it. Okay, all I can do is focus on what I can control right now in the present. Or just, sorry, don't focus on the past. All I can do is control what I do right now in the present and make steps towards the future. What I can do right now in the present is be there for my wife and enjoy this process of giving birth to my son. So that's what I did. And then when I get out of the hospital, I can take steps to make change. And that's what I did. And then 3, take massive action. Exactly what we did right after. In the hospital, what I did is I said, you know what? I'm going to be everything I can be for my wife. So let me go and let me be the best husband I can be. I'm just going to do and be there for her. I'm not going to keep my mind on that thing. And then when I got out of the hospital, same thing. How can I start to change things? How can I fix things? How can I do things differently and all that kind of good stuff? And then 4, I was grateful the whole time. I said, you know what? I thought about it. If I did it once, I could do it again. If I did it once, I can do it better the second time. That's the God honest truth. And so, we're talking, it was a good amount of money. I mean, for me, it was a good amount of money. It's small potatoes for a lot of other people. I know that, but for me, it was a big chunk of change. And so, but I was thankful. I said, you know what? I did it once. I can do it again. I'm thankful for the opportunity that came up, and I just got to keep moving. That's really what it comes down to. And so that's the example of my personal experience, birth of my son. And I have one of the kind of worst business setbacks that I've had in a while in this whole process. And it cost a lot of money. It cost a crap ton of money. But hey, it is what it is. Use the steps. I move forward. And it's honestly one of the last things in my mind right now, because I know I can recreate it. I can recreate the experience. I can recreate that opportunity. And now I'm thankful for the fact that I've learned something not to do. And now I can improve and work towards better fulfillment in the future, right? And I got to experience the birth of my son, and there was a bunch of different complications and stuff with that I'll go over in another episode. But that's what it is. I hope this episode has helped you. I don't know if you can hear it. My son is starting to wake up and fuss, so I am going to say I love y'all. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again. I hope this has helped you. And until the next time, talk to you guys later. Have a great one.